quite the view, isn't it, guys? I still get chills when I come out here. Alrighty team, so we're going to go out to the left. So feel free to take your photos of the lovely hobbit holes over here as we do make our way by. So guys, welcome to Hobbiton. I'm going to start out by giving everyone a lovely pop quiz. How does that sound?
Very good.
Yeah, good, awesome. We started off, yeah? That's alright. We'll take it easy on you at first, guys. I'm just going to see who's a proper fan. So who here has seen the Lord of the Rings movies? Yay! Oh, pretty much all of us. That's great. What about the Hobbit movies? Okay, awesome. Still quite a few. So is anyone here brave enough to admit that they haven't seen or read any of it? Maybe you've been dragged along by a friend or relative today. We do have one. There we go. That's all right. Exit's out this way. Movies though. Did anyone recognize the area that we walked through, particularly the stone walls?
Yeah.
Yeah? Can you remember a scene that was shot there?
Yeah, it was in the movie and the boss also.
The what, sorry?
When Gandalf came with the...
That's right, yeah, when Gandalf was pulling into the Shire. So we do actually call this area Gandalf's Cutting. So the reason that is because Gandalf comes in here with his cart and it is full of fireworks. That's right, guys. So he comes in here, you might remember all the little hobbit children chasing after him, begging him to let those fireworks go off. Looks like he wasn't going to, but finally he did. And then we see the Proudfeet. There are a couple of hobbits standing over in front of one of these hobbit holes, guys. Mr. Proudfoot, he's having a whole hearty chuckle at the fiasco. Mrs. Proudfoot is not. She's looking much less impressed. Very clever, because it actually uses a filming technique called fourth perspective. Now what that means is because Elijah Wood and Ian McKellen, Frodo and Gandalf, well, they're quite similar sizes in real life. Well, their actors are. We can't have that in the final production because one is playing a hobbit and one's a wizard. Wouldn't look right. So what they did is Peter Jackson actually got his team to build the cart that they're in to be 3 meters long. They sat Frodo all the way in the back and Gandalf all the way in the front. And the way the camera pans around, it looks like they're just sitting next to each other and they're different sizes. It's very, very clever. We actually also see it elsewhere on site today, guys, because Peter Jackson, he tried to use that technique a lot in his work to avoid using digital effects where he could. So you may have noticed that our hobbit holes are different sizes. The reason that is for fourth perspective. So in front of the ones that are scaled to 60%, these small ones, they would have filmed Gandalf going by. And in front of the big ones, which are scaled to 90%, they would have filmed one of the 300 Hobbit extras. So with those, when we're posing in front of them, we are going to look nice and short like a hobbit, without the hairy feet, hopefully. And, Now guys, you might remember the final scene in the original trilogy where Sam is walking up this little path coming home to his lovely wife Rosie. She's standing there in the door with a baby in her arms and a little girl rushes up to greet Sam as he does come home. That scene is already pretty special, but I reckon it's made even more special when you realize that the little girl rushing up to greet Sam is the actor's real daughter. And likewise the baby there in Rosie's arms, guys, that's her real baby as well. Pretty special. But according to law, Sam and Rosie did go on to have 13 kids together. So, poor old Rosie. They were very in love. So guys, that's right, so bag end up on the top there, guys, the tree directly on top of it. So that is our artificial tree. Now back when they were filming the Lord of the Rings, they did have a real oak tree up there. It was twice the size of the one that we have today, and it was brought in from a neighbor's property, popped up there, and they filmed the movie. Now when they came back to film The Hobbit, well, that's set 60 years before Lord of the Rings. So they needed a much younger tree to match a younger Bilbo running about. They knew the fans would be all up in arms if it didn't look exactly like the original. So they did make that one. It's made of steel, expanding foam, and silicone, and it has over 200,000 leaves on its branches. They were actually imported from Taiwan for the production. Now just 2 weeks before they started filming The Hobbit, Peter Jackson had a look at that tree and he said, nope, those leaves are the wrong color. So he got someone to go and paint them all again. All 200,000. I reckon he just didn't like that team member too much. But oh, tough crowd. I'll be here all week. So as you can see, guys, this is the only Hobbit hole on the movie set with a thatched roof. All the others are built directly into the hills behind them. This one, a little bit different. We can see these rolling green hills. That's the first thing that Peter Jackson told him he had to find. Within that, he also had to find a very large hill to build Bag End into. Now, the other thing was a very large tree to become the party tree. That's that one down there, guys. It is a radiata pine tree, which is a Californian variety. But we find that they grow really, really quickly here in New Zealand. They just soak up all the nutrient-rich soil. That one's actually over 200 years old, so quite an old tree and really, really big for its age as well. And the third thing that the location scout had to find was that lovely lake that you can see beyond the tree. It is a man-made lake, but unlike the pond, it was not made for the movies. It was already here on the farm. Farms are quite delicate ecosystems, so sometimes they'll build a big body of water like that to attract things like swans and ducks to take care of the pests. So without those three things, guys, filming for just Hobbiton would have been split up between 13 different locations. So it certainly would have made for a longer tour for you. And you can also see that big field beyond the Green Dragon down there, guys. Now that is where they filmed Sam and Frodo leaving the Shire. So you might remember that scene where Sam says, if I take one more step, it'll be the furthest I've ever been from home. That was done out there. You can see he didn't make it past the pub very much. A man after my own heart. So we'll start walking up here, guys. Now this one, guys, is the only Hobbit hole that you get to have a look inside today. So you'll be able to duck your head in there, have a look about. Wasn't joking earlier when I said they are a little bit disappointing on the inside. You can see what is behind the magic, and it's not a lot. There's basically just some wooden foundations in there. But they are actually all built to New Zealand housing regulations. The reason that is just in case there's ever an earthquake, we want to make sure they don't fall in on themselves. Now, if you guys would like some photos of...
Oh, it's not ours, but it's probably one of the other ones.
Okay. So guys, we are about to see Bag End. Does anyone know who lives there? Bilbo and Frodo as well. That's right, guys. A couple of Bagginses up here at Bag End. Now, as I've mentioned to a couple of you, this is the only Hobbit hole that is sized to 100%. So it's our biggest one on set. It's also the only one with 4 meters space behind that door. The reason that is just because when Bilbo did open the door, oh no, sorry, that's a different section. So the reason that is because they had filming equipment on the inside of there to get some shots of all this gorgeous natural splendor out here. Now the wall that you will see that is decorated in there, that is done so that when Bilbo opened the door, you could see just past it and it looked like the 2 sets that we had at Stone Stew Studios in Wellington. The reason we had 2 sets is again for forced perspective. So they had a really, really big one made that was for all the lovely little Hobbit actors so that they would look the correct proportions. And then we also had a very small one made for Gandalf. You might remember he turns around and he bumps his head. Yeah? Because he was in such a cramped space. Now when we do move up, guys, you will be able to spot a lovely bench there as well. Does anyone remember a scene that happened there in the Fellowship of the Ring? We had a couple of friends sitting there. Might jog your memory. Does anyone remember who it was?
No, it didn't.
Getting lots of mumbles, but no one brave enough to shout it out. It's alright, guys. So we did have Bilbo and Gandalf sitting there, overlooking a beautiful sunset in front of them and smoking away on their pipes. Now you might remember Bilbo, he blew that big smoke, circle rather. And then Gandalf, bit of a show off, he did that big smoke ship right through the middle of it. Now can anyone tell me what's wrong with that scene? No? Besides the smoke ship, I'd be very impressed if anyone could blow that. So the sun actually doesn't set in that direction, guys. It sets behind us at Bag End. So they got the actors up at the crack of dawn to get that shot. sat them there, and they were overlooking a sunrise instead. All of the footage that they had from that scene, they actually played it in reverse, of the landscape rather. They played it in reverse so that it would look like a sunset. I'm actually told if you do go back and watch it very, very closely, you may even see a couple of birds flying backwards across the fields out there as a result. So this is the only working mailbox that we have on the movie set as well, guys. That was because Elijah Wood did open it at one point, grab some mail out. Fill up a water bottle if you do have one. It's lovely and cold, guys. It's from a water reserve under the ground. Sadly, none of the animals on the farm got to be movie stars. They actually brought in their own animals for the movies because they needed really, really large breeds so that the Hobbit actors would look really small next to them. So you guys can see the little laundry lines around the movie set as well. So a few weeks before they started filming The Fellowship of the Ring, Peter Jackson actually hired a woman to go out and hang laundry on those every morning. And every evening she'd go and she'd bring it in. And the reason he hired her to do that is he wanted to create a natural path through the grass leading up to the laundry line. It's amazing the amount of work that went into this, all the details. Here guys, we're gonna head down this path and head onto the party fields. So think about what was filmed there. Please don't say a party. I'm looking for a little bit more specific than that. You can also see the Carmine Mountains in the distance over here, guys. So they only appeared in the movies for a split second, but it was long enough for the locals to work out exactly where this was filmed, and they started turning up on the doorsteps of the Alexanders. So you might remember the fireworks scene, all of that was done here. And on those 3 nights, guys, Peter Jackson, he wanted to make sure everyone on set was having a grand old time. So how he made sure of that is he plied them all with alcohol. He made them a special drink. It was a 1% beer, and it was called the Sobering Thought. Now for the little hobbits, our child extras, they just gave them sugar. And then they filmed the scene, sent them home to their parents. I'm sure really appreciated that. So guys, I'll just let you know your drink options for the Green Dragon Inn before we do head in. We have a lovely amber ale, an apple cider, or an English stout. Now they're all alcoholic. My personal favorite is the English stout. It's actually so good that I joked in my interview that it was half the reason I was applying to work here. And it's also the only one we do not sell in the gift shop. This doesn't bottle well, unfortunately. We do have a ginger beer as well, which is non-alcoholic, so if you would like just something a little bit sweeter, you can go for that. Enjoy that one.